Somehow we got to the point of the final college football game of the season. The Matt Barrie Show, ESPN College Football YouTube channel. Dan Mullen, Matt Barrie alongside. Championship game tonight. Washington, Michigan. We've been building this up for it seems like 3 months now. Morning of the game. How did you wake up feeling, Coach?
Today, I feel fantastic. Right. But I'll tell you what, you always do. I think the coaches feel fantastic this morning, too. You know, having coached in 2 national title games.
Yeah.
That excitement, I think it's one of the games that has the least amount of pressure on you on the entire season.
Right.
Because the goal is to get here.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden you're thinking, we're here. I can't wait to let it go and play in this game.
So what are you doing? You've been in 2 national championship games. What are you doing morning of? I mean, it kicks 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. What are you doing all day?
Well, you know your favorite thing. We're going to get up, we're going to go for a walk, have a breakfast, then we're going to do some walkthroughs.
And this, you last minute preparation.
Yeah, you're just, you know what? You're going through your regular game routine.
Yeah.
And you have that routine. And the nice thing at this point of the season is there's usually a little bit of confidence amongst players. I mean, they know the routine inside and out. I know this week we're coming off a regular week, if you will, a 7-day week instead of the long prep beforehand. But at this point of the season, practices are really light. You probably haven't done much hitting, much with pads.
Yep.
So you're just kind of putting on the finishing touches, all the walk through the confidence. Guys are feeling confident. And I will say, though, it's a long day. I mean, it is when those guys, they're waking up excited.
Yes.
Because, I mean, the type of day it is, it's that long wait through the day that you got to make sure that you're entertained. Usually there's a Saturday, there's other football on, there's some, you know, those little, like you have about a 2.5 hour break in your room between walkthroughs and meals and that stuff. And that's like, there's a lot of
video games and cartoons.
Oh, some cartoons.
You got to get to the point where you were at the stadium. All right, I'm going to break this down in a couple of bullet points as we get to the final preview of the season. Bullet point number 1, I think we expect Washington to score points. They've played a lot of good defenses this year. I know Michigan's one of the top-ranked defenses in the country, if not the top-ranked defense. So we're going to go away from the obvious one there. I'm going to ask you bullet point 1, how important is Washington's defense in this game?
I think Washington's defense is critical in this game. Now, the couple things that we got to see, because they have not played a team like Michigan all year that's just going to say, we're going to line up and pound the ball between the tackles for 4 quarters. That's what we want to do. Well, that's a great challenge to the defensive line of Washington. And you look at their defensive line and, you know, how stout are they going to be? Because the yards they've given up, a lot of the teams are spread teams. So now it's a physical battle. So they haven't been tested in this way. That's going to be really interesting. The other thing about the Washington defense I find fascinating is you watch them for an entire game and teams go kind of up and down the field and score until like the final moment they make a play. They have 21 fourth down stops on the year.
Wow.
Okay, so they get off. That's like 21 more turnovers that defense creates, and a lot of them come at critical times. They've been in close games. Their defense is going to feel comfortable. Hey, we got to make a stop. There's a minute left in the game. Fantastic. We're going to go make that play because we've done it over and over.
And we've seen it against Oregon, at least in the first minute against Oregon, those 2 critical 4th down stops that ended up winning in the game. So it's kind of a bend but don't break score, but we'll get you when we need to. I think Washington's defense, if this gets into a shootout, it's going to be interesting because you got to wonder if J.J. McCarthy, Roman Wilson, and those guys are capable of getting in a track meet with a team like Washington who's got NFL receivers everywhere.
Well, and what was interesting, against Alabama, you thought, boy, Michigan's going to struggle because Alabama's going to be able to play man and lock down those wideouts on the outside. And they made plays and scored touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy, 3 touchdown passes, had 1 touchdown pass in the previous 5 games. And if you remember it was the one that probably should have been picked against Ohio State, but the safety's right there. And
right
then
in between.
Turns around. I mean, if he just keeps looking at the quarterback, it's a pick. And then he throws 3 touchdown passes against Alabama. So at the biggest moment, he answered all the questions about what his ability is. Now, can he get away with some of the mistakes? He got away with some of the mistakes, but made the plays. Their receivers showed up against Ohio State. Against Alabama. Can their receivers, can they make those plays consistently? Not once or twice or a couple times on a drive. If it is a shootout, can they do it for 4 quarters?
And Washington's defense has given up the most yards in the Pac-12 through the air, so you know secondary-wise they are susceptible. But does Michigan have the guys on the perimeter that can make this a back-and-forth game? We know Washington does. Final bullet point for me, because I find this so fascinating in a collision of styles. Jim Harbaugh versus Kalen DeBoer. Going into this game, which coaching philosophy is going to be the most important?
You know, I think Kalen DeBoer has this team doing things that people didn't expect. Right? This has been a buildup, right? I mean, for Michigan, this has been, hey, for 3 years, this group, this is years in the making. Guys came back because they didn't get it done last year. This is Kalen DeBoer's second year. These guys, he came in, he said, this is how we're going to do it. These guys bought in.
Yeah.
Now, Kalen DeBoer, and as a coach and as an athlete and competitor, as everybody out there knows, he won 3 NAIA national titles.
Yeah.
So now you're going to say, what's the difference? Well, they play on the same length field. They have the same 11 on 11.
That's right.
You know,
It's still football.
You need 4 downs to get a first down. Now, the difference is maybe they flew to the game. They're staying at a nice hotel.
They're having buses and rental vans, yeah.
Day of,
Right.
driving up and having a McDonald's lunch for your pregame meal, right? But the different, and there's going to be 50 million people watching tonight in a sold-out stadium. But he's played in the championship games. Not that Jim Harbaugh hasn't on the biggest stage playing in the Super Bowl, but he's played in one, and a lot of his coaches are the same guys that came up through the ranks with him. And so I think they're a really unique story, and I think I give them a little bit of the edge. I think they have a lot less pressure on them too.
Well, no question.
This is a 3-year journey for Michigan that has to be answered in this game.
And really, technically, a 9-year journey if you're talking about Harbaugh coming home, trying to get his alma mater up to this point. They're more business-like approach. Washington comes in here, they're loose. It's kind of the atmosphere Kalen DeBoer's created. This is the paycheck question. This is why we pay you. Who wins?
You know what? The smart money would say Michigan, but the smart money in the semifinals would have said Alabama and Texas.
That's right.
I'm going Washington 34-28.
34-28. Not only did he give us a team, he gave us a score to go back on tomorrow and see if he was right. This has been so much fun with you, Dan Mullen, Matt Barrie. The preview of previews. National Championship Monday here in Houston.
Give me something I can feel. Light a cigarette.